George Pickens, big GP. George Pickens is next up as what is he? Is this year 3 or 4 for George Pickens? I
Year
know we said
4.
it's year 4. It's year 4, but he still feels young. It feels like we're still waiting for the George Pickens breakout. We know how uber talented he was coming out of Georgia, and then we've seen some of the highlight reel catches during his time as a Pittsburgh Steeler, but it just has not really materialized for a variety of reasons. I'm not going to put those all on the quarterback situation. That did not help. George Pickens also some self-inflicted wounds playing wide out. But you're talking about a player who is incredibly talented down the field. There are certain things that Pickens does very well. I was chopping it up, Matt, with Des Bryant one time, and he was telling me that I wasn't asked to do 20 different things. I knew my 4 assignments, and I did them better than everybody else. I made sure that when it was a go route, I was the best
so
downfield. If it was right, that's what they were asked me to do. I did those 4 things. The beautiful thing about Pickens in Dallas is he's probably not going to be asked to do a whole bunch of stuff because they have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, CeeDee Lamb. I don't care where he's lined up on any given play. He's the primary target for Dak Prescott, but he's in a role where he's going to be able to thrive as the secondary option, right? There's not going to be a lot of safety allocation on that side because you're just leaving yourself exposed for the better player. And more importantly, you've got a quarterback who has put up some monster fantasy seasons in the past. And we've been waiting for Dallas to find a number 2 receiver to take some pressure off of CeeDee Lamb, but to open this offense back up. Since Amari Cooper was traded, they have not successfully found that replacement of what Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb were going to be. And that was prior when Michael Gallup was deployed and miscast as a 1. They bring in a Brandon Cooks. They try out Jalen Tolbert. Now you've got a guy that's going to be able to stretch the field, do the things that he does well, and you're hoping that you're going to get more volume, higher efficiency, and more just ability to operate freely without all the attention focused on him.
Yeah, I love this selection here. I think he had to be included in the conversation because he's going into his 4th year, but his fantasy finishes so far have been wide receiver 36, wide receiver 26, and wide receiver 42. So to me, Pickens isn't like a real, he's sort of kind of broken out, but like I said, sort of kind of, there can be another level for him. I was talking with my buddy James Coe yesterday about Pickens, and he's like, I can't believe that the over under for him right now is I think 5.5 touchdowns, because his career high is 5 touchdowns in 2023. And James is like, what, man, that 6 would be a career high. I'm like, buddy, the Steelers are literally last in the NFL in passing touchdowns since Pickens entered the league. Like I think he can surpass that total. Like, that's the thing for me. He could even be a guy like Rashad Bateman last year. And look, I think he will produce more than Bateman did last year because this is just a totally different passing environment. Had to get one Rashad Bateman reference in here today because I'm not going to include him on this list, but he will always be on this list in my heart. Nevertheless, he was a guy in Rashad Bateman that had high yards per catch, 9 touchdowns, and he ended up becoming that was his best season. And I think Pickens could do something like that where maybe the consistency isn't always there, but from a week to week perspective, he might be like a quote better in best ball type of guy, George Pickens. But when he hits, he's going to hit really, really big. And even if the journey to get to his final numbers might not be smooth, just because to no fault of his own, he's playing alongside one of the elite receivers in the league in CeeDee Lamb, but the final numbers can be really good. And when he hits, he can hit really high.
Matt, let me give you can I give you a little list real quick on Pickens's deployment? Can I give you a little quick list on Pickens? Fantasy points per game on go routes from the outside. When aligned outside, you're running down the field. How many points per game are you scoring on go routes in 2024? Here are the players ahead of George Pickens. You've got Mike Evans, Malik Neighbors, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, right? That's a small sample. Cortland Sutton, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams. And I just left out the players with less than 10 targets. That's it. George Pickens is almost scoring 3 points per game on one route, which is double anything he's scoring on anything else, down the field stuff. So if you just allow him to do the stuff he does well, which is he does a lot of wide receiver screens. He gets down the field a lot. Let him run those things with Dak and the attention focused on CeeDee Lamb still, a more spread out defense. This is how Pickens ascends to another level. Is he going to get to the place that we wanted him to be when he was the ISO target in Pittsburgh? No. Like that ship and that level of expectation for Pickens has sailed, but can he be one of those? I think what he can be, Matt, is you know when you look at the secondary wide receivers and you're ranking T. Higgins and Devontae Smith,
Yeah.
and who's the best number two? I think Pickens has the chance to ascend to the best number two wide receiver in the NFL. Can he do that with Dak in this offense? I think that's definitely within his range of outcome this season.
I was going to say, why can't he be T. Higgins, who was wide receiver 4 in points per game last year? Obviously, he didn't play a full season. He only played 12 games, so that's why that's there. But like Jamar Chase had the nuclear season, and T. Higgins was still really, really good. Now, I think the Cowboys defense is going to be better than the Bengals defense last year, so that's right. Going to be a part of it. But at the same time, this is a really fruitful offensive environment. And sometimes it's better to be the man besides the man instead of just the man. And I would frankly rather be the wide receiver 2 in Dallas than the wide receiver 1 for Kenny Pickett in a Matt Canada offense and all that kind of nonsense.